Hello, welcome back to take two of this intro of the show. So CJ, here we are again. What did I say last time? Ah, this year has been an interesting year. You know, a lot of high lows, mostly lows. But the comic book fan, the comic book nerd, how do you think it's been going? And also, thank you for joining us all the way from LA. What is up?
All right. Well, for this time displaced episode here, now as far as comic book fans go, I think it's been a pretty good year. We had Civil War this
Mm-hmm.
year, which is basically an Avengers movie,
Yep.
and it was rad.
Yep.
We had Doctor Strange, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
We had Luke Cage. We
Mm-hmm.
had Suicide Squad, which I
Ugh.
thought was decent. We had
Ugh.
Batman versus Superman, which was
Ugh.
okay, whatever. When it came out, though, it was the fact that it came out is a good thing, but
Is it though? Is it a good thing? That movie,
no, I
I
mean
wish that
just
movie
the
hadn't come
fact
out at
that we
all.
have a Batman
That
versus
was a
Superman
bad movie.
I'm not disputing that what you're saying. I'm just saying the fact that a Batman versus Superman movie came out,
Okay.
that's still unprecedented for comic book fans.
Mm-hmm.
That's still like an important thing. We had like the DC TV universe is heating up more.
Yep.
There's 4 shows that's on 4 nights
Mm-hmm.
in a row. But as a comic book fan, like I was saying earlier, I'm more excited for next year
Yep.
what's to come. Because there's a lot to be excited for. The Guardians trailer just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
SpiderMan trailer just dropped.
Which was awesome. Oh, that was.
Yeah,
all right, we'll talk about that in a second. But all right, keep going. Sorry.
yeah. But there's a lot more next year that I'm super excited for. Guardians, Spider-Man, Thor 3 with Hulk
Mm-hmm.
on the side. There's Justice League, and there's Wonder Woman's coming out, Logan's coming out.
Yes.
Um,
That looks
you know,
sick. I want to see
the
Logan.
Defenders is
Mm-hmm.
coming out. Iron Fist is coming out. There's a lot to be excited for this coming year, 2017. 2017. Oh, in Star Wars Episode 8 even too.
That's
On
right.
the sci-fi side.
So
Um,
expect from Frack The Canon a yearly Star Wars episode. With my boss and
but
Bob.
next year is like the take my money year. I feel like
I felt this year was. I felt this year was that year. Like here, like
no.
no, no.
No. I mean, I was excited this year, but I was always like, this whole year, I've always been like, oh, like I can't wait until next year.
Right.
Like next year's gonna be great. This year, sweet, sure, but
All right. Okay. Cool. I feel you. So we'll talk up. So since we're very much a Marvel TV show, we're gonna do two quick ones. Talk about Doctor Strange. We have a picture of Doctor Strange. If we can get that up. What did you think about this movie, CJ? Overall, there he is, the Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. Did you like the movie? Were you happy with the results of what we got with this movie?
yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'll say this. Quick critique. I liked it. Could have used more Rachel McAdams. Kind of basic, but I had fun. Okay.
No Jamie Alexander.
That we could always use more Jamie Alexander. Anything can always use more Jamie Alexander. You know. All right. Next one. Luke Cage. What do you think about Luke Cage?
Luke Cage is harder for me to do like in the quick, but
Go for it.
I mean overall, I liked Luke Cage. I did have some disappointment with it too.
What was the biggest one? I think we might have the same one.
What's that?
I think we might have the same disappointment, but I want to be sure.
No, I mean I just feel like it's actually a similar problem I kind of have with some of these Netflix shows. Not all of them, but some of them. Like like I feel like they start really strong, and then like maybe like 2/3 of the way through, they kind of lose where they're headed. You know what I mean? They don't have like a solid aim. Like they start with this solid aim, and then something happens. Like I feel like they kind of reach their conclusion too fast, and then they kind of lose where they're going. And I felt like Luke Cage was kind of the same way. You know what I mean? Like 2/3 of the way through, it was pretty good, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, well, what are you guys doing now? Like, I don't know. I was still watching it because I was so enthralled by what I had seen.
Right.
More so, I was watching it to be like, oh, this is still pretty awesome.
My basic complaint about Luke Cage is that he's not in it as much as he is. Like he's the main character. The show's named after him, but he's in it less than the villains and the side characters. I'm like, he's like street Superman. I'm like, and yet he's still like shown less. He's the least interesting character too, in his own show, which I think is not a good thing. I wish it would have been more. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does, and I agree with you. Mm-hmm. He is the least interesting character in his own show.
All right. So, talking about TV shows, we'll still stay on the Marvel track. Never mind. We're going to go back to the movie track. There's a new trailer that came out today, or was it yesterday? No, yesterday. But whatever. Can we roll that Spider-Man clip, please?
Does Liz get a new top? No, we've seen that before. Never with that skirt. Should probably stop staring before it gets creepy, though.
Too late. You guys are losers.
You've been treating me like a kid all the time.
But you are a kid.
This is my chance to prove myself.
Peter, what is going on with you?
I'm really sorry. I'm so busy. I'm slammed.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on this, dude? It's a second reboot, but it's finally in the Marvel universe. What do you think? I'm excited for this. I feel like it's actual Peter Parker that we read in the comic books. How do you feel about that?
It kind of reminds me. Well, I mean, everybody knows I'm a big Spider-Man fan.
Yes.
I was a little wary about this when I heard the announcement. After seeing him in Civil War, I got a lot more excited.
Uh-huh.
And hearing about the trailer, I was a lot more excited. I'm never a big fan of trailer ones.
Right.
Trailer 2 to me is usually where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I try not to watch any more trailers after trailer 2. but trailer 2 to me is usually where it's at. I mean, trailer 1, it's like, okay, like, well, this is what we got so far to show you. We haven't put all the special effects in and blah, blah, blah. So, we're not ready to show you everything.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as trailer 1, it was decent. It interests me. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of one of my favorite Spider-Man iterations, which is Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes.
The cartoon from a few years ago. And I thought that was excellent, but it kind of reminds me of that. You know what I mean? You see him staring at Liz Allen. He in that cartoon, at least the season 1, he was kind of like in the Liz Allen trying to get with her. It's kind of like a coming of age story. It seems a little bit like like Freaks and Geeks meets Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which I'm a big fan of both of those franchises. So,
who isn't?
And Spider-Man in high school lends itself to that kind of a story.
Uh-huh.
And to me, like, especially like what they did in Spectacular Spider-Man, to me, like, that is the best way to see Spider-Man. This guy who he's in high school, he's a kid, but he has all these problems outside of being a superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to be a superhero and do the right thing, but he also has all these issues that are like pulling him in all these different directions. You know what I mean? He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's not Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Superman has the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he can do a lot about it. You know what I mean? Like, Spider-Man, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he's limited in his ability to protect everyone, you know? And that's usually the best kind of Spider-Man story that I enjoy to see, and this seems like it might be kind of barking up that tree.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel like they were like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. They were trying to pick the whole like woe was me, like I too being too pressured, and then the Amazing Spider-Man was a little bit more of the superhero side, and I feel like they're finally getting both of the kinds of Spider-Man with this new Spider-Man, with the third Spider-Man. Moving on, because we're running out of time. So this was last week or 2 weeks ago. There was the DC crossover, and
that was last week,
which was a classic. And then something you and I both talked about that we liked a lot about was this moment between Heatwave and Supergirl. Can we roll that clip, please?
How did you get the name Heatwave?
I burn my family alive. I like to light things on fire.
Ah, well, that's a colorful backstory.
I love a good delivery, right? CG, like, someone says something so funny, and then just to deliver, like Frasier. Frasier gives, everyone knows me, knows I love Frasier, and they give the best deliveries. Supergirl's reaction was a visual version of that, of a visual delivery. Her face is like, what the frack is he saying? Like, it's just so, so beautiful, it's so sublime that you just can't be like, oh my God. To me, that made the whole, I love that. Oh my God, that was awesome. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, that was like one of my favorite parts of the entire episode. Was just that look that she gave in response to like what he was saying. Because if you watch all these shows, like if you watch like Supergirl, and I've been watching Supergirl lately. We watch Supergirl, like it means so much to you because like she doesn't come into contact with anybody like this character.
Yes. Her world is so clean compared to the legends. Yeah.
Like in her world. And so like when he talks to her like this, like she just has this like, how do I respond to this kind of?
It's a visual. Like, what the frack is happening?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. It was a great moment. In that crossover, you know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great moments in that crossover that I loved. But the Flash episode, you and I have talked about this, Renee. That was the best episode in the crossover.
By far. It was. It used everyone completely. It used the Flash. It used Supergirl. Everyone felt used. Whereas the other episodes, like Supergirl episode, she's in a different Earth. You have to bring her into their world. And then the Arrow episode was just a flashback episode. It was a dream episode. I'm like, what is this, Dallas? And then...
Well, here's the thing. The thing about the Arrow episode is, like, it was the 100th episode, too. And that's what their aim was. Unfortunately for the crossover, that's what their aim was to give you a better 100th episode than a good crossover episode, which it kind of suffered, you know, in both of our opinions. It kind of suffered.
Yep. I stopped watching Arrow because at one point I'm like, I don't care anymore. You're a Batman. You're poor man's Batman, kind of. And I stopped watching it when they went to the Lazarus Pit or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. It's not fun. Like, I prefer Supergirl a lot more than I like Arrow. But speaking of Flash, though, also I love the Flash. I love that they're fucking bringing Wally West into this, bringing Kid Flash. How do you feel about that? Because we're both Wally West. My Flash is Wally West. What are you? I think you would say the same.
Yeah, I would agree. Wally West was the Flash that was around when I actually first started getting into comic books. When I first started getting into Flash, Wally West was the Flash that was around, and more so than that, Wally West's personality to me feels more like someone who is a speedster than Barry Allen's personality.
Yes.
Barry Allen is actually a really boring character, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know
now
what.
He's got,
Go ahead.
Well, now he's got the show, and you can do different stuff in an adaptation, you know, to make characters more interesting. Like Barry Allen's, you know, he's not uninteresting in the show. He's an interesting character in the show, but overall, Barry Allen as a character to me is not very interesting. You know, he's kind of he's straight laced. You know what I mean? He's slow. He's deliberate. He's a scientist. He's a dweeb. I don't know what to say, but he's not much of a speedster, classic speedster type of personality. But Wally West is. He's more impulsive. He's jokey. He jumps into things before he thinks about it, which is another way to say impulsive. But
so speaking of, there we go. There's the Wally West from the Flash. So I'm glad we're doing this also because how do you feel about characters being their ethnicity being changed for TV shows than from their comic book origins? Like Wally West has always been white. That's what I grew up with. But how do you feel about him as a Wally West fan, him being black on live action? Or first Wally West being live action, being a black Wally West?
It's like a hard subject to grace, right?
Right.
Because I mean, race is always like a sensitive subject, no matter how you bring it up or how you approach it.
Yeah.
Race is always a sensitive subject. But I don't know, like a lot of times it bugs me when they do it just for like, I don't know, PC's sake. And you can kind of tell, like, okay, well, we're just doing this for that sake. But like when I think about it too, like a lot of times it bugs me just because I'm thinking about what we're gonna have to do with the backlash we have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like it bugs me just because I'm thinking about like, oh, like I'm gonna have to hear like so many people like talk mess about this. Like they're just gonna be, you know, everybody, the internet's gonna be aflame. Oh, if you do this, I'm not gonna watch it, or you know, we're gonna boycott this. Oh, why are you doing this PC casting? Like,
but that's something that's something that's happening to the comic books. Like right now we have there's a what is it in the comic books? There's a black Spider-Man also now. There's Peter Parker, and then there's Miles Morales. How do you feel about that? Is that also kind of PC? Like how here's what I think. My thoughts on that is, I'm glad there's a black Hispanic superhero out there, but I wish he would stand on his own and not have to be on his own, not because he's a Spider-Man. Because there's a bunch of Spider-Men out there, Spider people. How do you feel on that?
Well, and then that's kind of dipping into like another thing too, right? That's dipping into another subject, the idea of legacy heroes too. Okay. There's like the PC reboot recast, but then there's also legacy hero, this person who takes over kind of for this other hero. And lately in Marvel, they've been kind of doing that with other races, other genders. You know, Thor, there's a girl Thor now. There's a black Captain America in Sam Wilson.
Yes.
Now,
how do you feel about Sam Wilson? Because Sam Wilson was his own superhero on his own. Sam Wilson was the Falcon before he was Captain America. So to me, that to me is like a step backwards. To me.
Why? Because he's black? No,
yes. I said it. Yeah. Do something. No, but I mean, but for him to be his own superhero, be his own identity, be his own man, to take another character, another title, another costume for, you know, like, what is that, a step backwards? I think it's a step backward.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's give and take in both situations, right? When it comes to Sam Wilson, I don't like that. I don't like that Sam Wilson is Captain America because Sam Wilson was the Falcon. And Falcon was like one of the first black superheroes, right? Hate to bring it back to race, but we're talking about race, and that's like a race thing, right? Like he was one of the first black superheroes. So now you're taking this away from him. Like he's not the Falcon anymore. He is Captain America with wings and a shield, whatever. And
there's also a number of characters that you can count on your hand. Well, maybe not your hand, but like there's Bishop, the black superheroes that can stand on their own. There's Bishop, there's Storm, there's Aurora Monroe. Oh, she's a Storm. Who else? There's Luke Cage. Perfect. We talked about Luke Cage, Static Shock, and then Black Panther. That they come to my top of my mind. Like who else could? That's one thing. Like why give them these little, you know? Give them.
Well,
did that make sense?
Here's another thing, though, right? When we were talking about the Black Spider-Man, right? Because see, I've always been a fan of legacy characters, actually. Right. Now, the whole thing before Marvel mashed all of its characters together and did their little battle world thing or whatever.
That was dumb.
Miles Morales was introduced in the Ultimate Spider-Man line. It was the reason I like that is because they killed Peter Parker off. And you know when they do something like that in the Ultimate line, that like they're not really coming.
Yeah.
Right. They're dead. Spider-Man was gone. There was no Spider-Man. Right. And they brought in this new Spider-Man. He was literally a legacy character.
Right.
And in that respect, I liked him. You know what I mean? Not enough to be like, oh, you guys should have this character be in like a movie instead of Peter Parker or whatever, because I'm a Spider-Man fan. I still like Peter Parker, but I did like that. It's okay for me that he was like this, because he was a legacy character. And I've always liked legacy characters. DC used to do legacy characters a lot more, and I always liked that.
And they're famous for their biggest group of is the Green Lantern Corps. But that's kind of like they got Hal Jordan, they got Guy Gardner, they have Jon Stewart, they have Kyle Rayner, and then they brought a new one like 2 years ago. Jessica Simon Bass is the new guy. Jessica Simpson. What am I thinking about? And then Jessica Cruz and Simon Bass are the two newest ones, and they're both minorities. I'm like, that to me makes sense though, but it also feels PC. Like the first Hispanic one is also a woman, but then again, Kyle Rayner was also half Mexican, but you never got that. Anywho, how do you feel about those?
Because he looks white though. So it's like, is this? I hear everything, you know what I mean? Like I hear what you're saying, and sometimes I don't really like it. Like I was talking about, like I don't like the Sam Wilson,
right?
You know what I mean? Like I don't like the female Thor,
that
aspect of it. You know what I mean? It's like, why she is Thor? Like, why are you Thor? Like there is a Thor. That's his name. Like that's not a superhero name. Like
he's a god. Thor is literally a god.
Right.
So I'm like,
however, at the same time, it's important to remember, like there are good versions of this, right? Like my main one I think of it is Captain Marvel, the current Captain Marvel,
right?
Carol Danvers, who has completely outshined her predecessor.
Yes,
she was Miss Marvel. Like she was created from the original Captain Marvel, and was Miss Marvel for ages, and like as her Miss Marvel popularity rose, no one even cared anymore who Captain Marvel was, to the point where they rebranded her as Captain Marvel.
Another good example to that.
And that's such a success story, and I love that character.
I would also add the Blue Beetle to that character, because there's been a Blue Beetle since the Golden Age of comics, and it's been two white. There we are, right there. There's Ted Kord, and then Jaime Reyes is the newest one, who also doesn't have to be Mexican American. I think that's another example, but I'm still in between of like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, why does it have to be like?
I mean,
I love Jaime Reyes. I love the Blue Beetle, but I just still like, I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the Blue Beetle. I like what they did with that character. I think he's way cooler than the original Blue Beetle. Just in terms of his power set, what he can do, and like his backstory or whatever. Excuse me.
You're excused.
Yeah, I like that, but I mean, it's like a touchy subject. It's sometimes when they do these PC castings or these rebrandings or these what is the other word we use? These legacy characters where they just kind of sub in a minority in there. Sometimes I feel like it takes it away, but I think as we are discussing, like right now, like there's give and take, you know what I mean? Like there's good versions, there's bad versions, you know what I mean? Like I can't see anything wrong with the fact that the Wests are black on the Flash, right? But at the same time, there's no need to change them. It's a change that doesn't necessarily matter, but for someone who's more of a diehard West fan than I am, maybe it does matter to them.
I find that interesting too, because well, let's say it, Mexican and black. So I thought you'd embrace that more, seeing a black character who's with the West, like you said. But you're not a big fan of that, I take it.
I'm not a fan of it. Like I'm not saying I don't like the fact that they're black. I'm not saying that's not what I'm trying to imply here.
Okay.
I'm not trying to imply like, no, I don't like that they're black.
Okay.
What I'm trying to imply is that there's no reason for them to be black. But at the same time, it doesn't take away from the show either. Like there's no reason for them to be white either. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. I feel you on that. Okay. Well, then there you have it, folks. race talk from a black guy and a Mexican guy.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's all we have for most of it. Any final thoughts, CJ, before we wrap it up? Any suggestions?
I don't know. What is this? The last show of the year?
Yeah. What are you looking for next year? Yeah. We talked about what the big one thing you're looking forward to next year.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really? Okay. Alrighty. I'm looking forward to Logan because I just love Wolverine and I'm an X-Men fan. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Thank you to the crew for taking the time and being part of this. Couldn't do it without you. Bye. Woo-hoo.